Hello and welcome back.
To the In Your Mind podcast.
Today we are joined with my sister, Bella.
Me. Hello.
Special guest.
Yes.
We've been doing some running recently. Trying something new. Something that...
Hurts our shins.
Yeah, Bella today was like, does your shins hurt? I'm like, no, that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
Shin splints. Progressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're thinking of talking a little bit about things that we once thought was really hard or like unachievable, and now we find, I don't know, now we've kind of like bridged that gap of like what is our limit and how it kind of like expands us and feels like, oh, we actually have like a new level or limit to then strive for, and then once you get there it like just keeps kind of expanding.
Yeah.
Like the level just keeps going up and up and up. So have you done running much before?
A little bit. Like in high school, I used to run a little bit like in the dam and stuff. But I feel like I would just like push myself and be like, I need to run 10Ks or something. And then would like walk half of it and then be like, oh, this is so unachievable. Like I never properly like built it up kind of thing. And especially like when I was little, I feel like I was just I told myself, I guess, like in my head that I wasn't a runner and I wasn't very good at running, because I think a lot of people like around our area are really good at running, and we were both better at swimming, I would say. So I always felt like, oh, like running's over there, like I'm over here.
I don't know if anyone actually thinks that they're a runner. Like, does anyone ever enjoy running? Like, is that something that people are like, oh, like I love running? Or is it really hard for everybody?
Is it hard for you, Brent?
I think there are a lot of people who are runners. I think humans are built to run. Like we evolved running. I think maybe just because if you don't do it when you're growing up as much, it's not as natural.
Yeah, kind of like eating healthy food. Like if you grow up doing it, it just like flows naturally. But like then to switch yourself to that is quite difficult.
And I guess it was weird with us because we were both swimmers. So it was kind of like that CrossFit training where we could just run and we could do it. Although like the mental challenge of it was so different to swimming, because like in the pool, I think like you've just got to get to the end. Like it's just like the finish line is always set.
Yeah. How did you find going from like running in your childhood to then having to learn to like swim and do that in like a triathlon kind of?
Well, like the same as you
Ironman.
with running. I was like, I'm not a water person. I'm a land mammal. I don't exist in the water well. So it was a struggle for sure.
Yeah, I think that we probably can like share that difficulty then, but just in a different way of how it feels. Yeah.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep holding it because then it...
I'm back. Don't you feel like Cedar's bones are getting stinkier and stinkier? Like I can feel the waft coming up from under the table. The other day, Joel came in and was like, did someone fart? Mum was like, no, I don't smell anything. And I was like, I don't smell anything either. And then all of Cedar's bones like laid out on the ground, and I was thinking, holy shit. You know, like when you go into like other people's cars or other people's homes and you're like, poo-wee. And they probably don't even realise that
It's like people that have heaps of cats and you walk into a cat house and it just stinks.
This house has a distinct smell as well. I will say that, just so you guys know.
We need to get some like air fresheners or something.
Wait, does it like in a bad way or in a good way, or like?
You get used to it though. It smells like dog. What?
It's just like so funny, like bagging out. Yeah, you know when you walk into people's houses or cars and you're like cooey, and then you're just like,
It's us.
yeah, you.
But doesn't like everyone's house does have a smell. This house just smells like dog because you have a dog.
I never actually thought that it would have a smell. God, maybe we should put some like air fresheners around or something.
I think it's just things that like the dog has been around a lot.
On the beds, on the couch. He's
Yeah.
everywhere.
He's ingrained. It makes sense why in rental properties, like, you're not really allowed dogs. Like most rental properties that we went to, it said no dogs. And at the start, it's like, why? That's just so mean. Like, they must hate dogs. But when you think about it, like, their fur does get everywhere. And yeah, as you said, like, there is like definitely a doggy smell, and things can get like more ripped up and used.
And you can't really get rid of it. It somehow like stains inside the walls. Or like in the carpet and in everywhere. Like it's not just this place, like it's just anywhere that has animals.
But would you say, if you, like, imaginary scenario right now, if you had a rental property, would you rather have people that smoke in there or people that own a dog in there?
They could smoke, just not inside. They
Could
could
they-
have pets, just not inside.
But how would you know that they're not doing it inside?
You could smell it.
Like, I think like smoke especially like goes into all the curtains. Like it holds all that smell. And yeah, carpets, like same kind of things. But it's like, I think it's even more immersed than like dog smell. Like, you know, when you get into a taxi, I remember getting into taxis when I was like really young and thinking, oh my gosh, it stinks. And like almost needing to vomit because of like the cigarette smell
Yeah.
in like taxis. But that's not really a thing anymore. Like, I haven't been in a taxi in a long time, or in an Uber, which smells like cigarettes.
Yeah, that's very true. True. Because do you reckon that's why vaping is so popular, because there's no smell attached to them? So a lot of smokers switched because of the smell.
No, a lot of smokers switched because initially they thought vaping wasn't as bad.
That's fucked, because it
Yeah.
actually is worse.
Shocker.
Yeah. Something in plastic is worse. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. How bad is vaping? Like, vaping?
Bad enough to not do it.
Yeah.
Apparently it's got like mercury and arsenic in it, so that should say enough.
But why are we so concerned with vaping and not like the mercury and plastic levels in like fish and the food that we eat?
That's true. That's true. We don't think about like our food being contaminated with like additives and stuff. But then
Yeah.
when we think about like smoking, because it's like a substance, then we can like critique it at like a finer level.
Yeah. Like, people are so quick to be like, vaping is bad. I'm so healthy. I'm going to eat a salmon fillet or something. And then they don't realize that that's been farmed. There's all these like antibiotics that has been put into the water, possibly antibiotic resistant microbes in it, microplastics, diseased, like it, you know what I mean? Like,
I think it's because like the vape hate comes from people who don't vape. But everyone eats shit food.
yeah.
So not like people just don't clown on themselves. Like they'd rather point to what everyone else is doing wrong rather than talk about the things that they're doing as well. So if everyone eats shit food, no one's going to complain about how shit the food is because they're complicit in it.
Can we talk about that? Can we say 3 shit things that we've been doing lately? Okay, Brendan, can you go first?
I've been doom scrolling. I've been lacking intention. I've been unconscious in my decisions. And I think I've been taking the easy way out on a lot of stuff as well.
In what way?
Like not going the extra 1%.
What do you mean by lacking intention or like not being aware? Like when does that show up? Like what's like the daily, like how do you see that?
Just going through the motions of like doing the same things I did yesterday, but not pushing the boundaries in like with intention.
Wouldn't you say that your 10K the other day was very intention based? Or do you think you were just going about the motions and that you would just normally do that?
See, it's weird because the 10K wasn't my intention. I just did it because you guys intended it.
And do you feel like the half marathon training is also unintended? It's something that you're doing to motivate Kira? Like
yeah,
to
well,
help?
I'm doing it because Kira's doing it. And that would be more of a attack on my identity if I didn't do it and she was, than to just do the same thing she's doing. Like if my brand and how I see myself is doing hard things and doing things that are going to make me better, then if I didn't do it at all, that would be a more direct attack on it. But I can just get by just doing it if she's doing it, or by doing it if someone else is doing it. But that's not actually growing myself. That's just...
Because the half Ironman that you did literally had a half marathon in it, plus other stuff.
Yeah.
So that would have been like tougher for you.
Yeah.
So then does it feel like you're going backwards a step, or does it feel like you're kind of just easing along at a pace by doing it?
Well, I think it's relative, because I haven't trained nearly as much. So I think it's still going to be difficult because I haven't, like, it's not something I do all the time.
Yeah. See, I feel like in my head, I see you as someone that, like, does that all the time. I'm like, oh, Brendan, he's probably out doing a marathon right now.
Like, I think it would be easier for me than a lot of people, but it's still not going to be easy.
Yeah. See, I feel like in my head, my perception of you is that that's just so easy for you. Like, I feel like when we did the 10K the other day, like, you were barely, like, puffed. Like, you barely broke out in a sweat by the end. And then I'm like, it's like
I mean,
a walk
that's
in the
not
park.
true. And also, like, when I run, I don't get, like, cardiovascularly tired as much, but my legs and my feet hurt.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, Kira, what are 3 things that you...
What's the question?
Oh, sorry.
I
I just thought that you would carry on.
Yeah, no.
What
I need a refresh.
What was it again? What are 3 things that you are doing right now that you shouldn't be doing? Was that it?
I can't think of anything. I'm just perfect. No.
I can give you 10.
I can say something that you're doing really well.
That's not the vibe.
We can do that after.
Wait, can I just say one thing that I appreciate?
Okay.
I did say the other day that it was annoying me that you weren't emptying the coffee grounds. Because, no, it's valid. You're used to living by yourself, like just you guys.
Yeah.
And it's hard to adjust. And I went up to you and I said, Kira, I'm a little bit annoyed that every time I go to the coffee machine, there's grounds in it. And you said, I'm really sorry. I'll try and change it. And then you did. So...
Huge achievement, Kira.
No, but it
she
is
can empty
because
the coffee
people
grounds.
Mum was telling me, can you not put the tuna cans on the windowsill? And I kept doing it. Intentionally knowing every time I left one there, Mum had said that, but I was just too lazy to go outside.
So why do you think it's different from Kira listening to you rather than you listening to your mum?
I think it's a great achievement that she was able to do it, even though I'm not that strong.
But why do you think that is?
Because I was really lazy.
And it's an achievement that she's not lazy.
Yeah, that you're better than me. And it, like, in that instance, I'm like, well, you know.
See, I just see it as like, yeah, I guess I don't want to do something that you've come up to me and you've said it in a nice way. I think that's the first thing. If someone comes up to me and is like, why are you doing this? Then it's not going to be like, oh, I actually want to please that person. It's like kind of the opposite. It's like, oh, well, if that's how you see it. But because you came up and you're like, hey, like, I know it's probably hard to adjust. Like, you were really understanding. And I was like, okay, wow. Like, she's being really considerate about this. And obviously it's something that she wants more attention to detail on. Like,
I love how he's talking about coffee grounds right now.
I know. But I was like, okay, like, that's a simple thing that can, if it's going to, like, I know that it's going to please you and it's very simple to do. And instantly when I did it, you went, oh my gosh, the coffee grinds are empty. Like, you were just so happy that was achieved. So I was like, cool. Like, if, you know, it's not a huge thing. Like, I usually will empty them before I fill in more coffee.
Yeah.
And that was just the process in my head. But I was like, okay, I can just change that process. Like, that's okay. Yeah. But then going back to the 3 things that I'm not doing very well at currently. Yes, so my meditations have been kind of inconsistent, which I feel like does really trickle into the rest of my life. Like, I definitely find that I can be a bit more self-aware and a bit less non-reactive to people, like to everyone around me. If I'm just doing that every day, then I can kind of put myself in a calmer space and a more non-judgmental view of like, these things are already happening around me. I'm here and I can choose how I want to react to it.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to get back into that. Like, I'm doing them every 2 days, every 3 days, but it's not every day. And I know that is something that really helps me. So wanting to do that more. Yeah. What other things? I think it all just comes down to, me feeling like just not being as self-aware as I would like. And just not putting the time into that as much. So, and with the podcast, I haven't been doing my like reels every week. Like, it hasn't been consistent. So that's something that's kind of fallen off a little bit with consistency. But I also am like not too harsh on myself right now, because I also feel like I've been pretty good with like my uni work and like scheduling that and achieving assignments and just balancing life pretty well. So it's like, those are the things that I'm needing to work on, but it's not like,
you're not putting your whole value in not doing those things.
Yeah, but I also know that they're like, it's kind of like the 1%. It's kind of like, if I can just get those 2 things like routinely integrated, then it's kind of a whole nother level achieved with me when I'm doing those things. So they are quite crucial to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I feel like I've not been very good with my diet. And then coming up to Easter, I'm like, oh, it's going to be even worse. And I've just been very inconsistent, like with uni work and like finishing my lectures and stuff. Like, I still have 2 lectures from last week that I haven't finished. But I will. I'll do them at some point. And then also not being consistent with like putting the tuna cans in the bin. Yeah. And it's just like, I feel like throughout my life right now, even like I said to Kira, I really want to do like a 2-week ab challenge where I do like a 10-minute video like workout a day. and did it for 4 days and then stopped because I forgot. I feel like it's just like little things right now that are like building up of like, oh, I said I was going to do that, didn't do that. Oh, I told myself I should do that, didn't do it. Like I feel like just not being very consistent. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. I also like have this guilt sometimes with Cedar, the dog. Like when I come home, I'm like, oh, he probably hasn't been out. Like I need to go do something with him. And then having that as like a priority of taking him on a walk, and then having other priorities of like making sure he's okay, having food, doing uni work. And then I feel so tired by doing all those things that then I haven't been enjoying like my personal hobbies and stuff of like going to the beach, going surfing, going snorkeling as much. So like I just don't have any time for myself right now. But I also don't know where that time's going if it's not on uni work. It's just like I've just been really tired, I guess. And just lounging around, not really doing anything.
What are your priorities, do you think? What are your top 3 priorities?
I feel like lately it's just been getting to school, getting to work, and like that's it. Like making sure I'm showing up to classes, making sure I'm showing up to work. Because I feel like we're building towards going to Europe, so we have to save a lot. So I'm like, I need to work as much as possible. And that's pretty much it right now. And then making sure that I've also taken on the responsibility of having a dog. So I feel like I need to also fulfill that. And that's it, really. You're like, fuck.
I'm going to ask a tough question, okay?
Okay. Keep in mind I'm only 20. I don't know anything.
Where do you expect those things to take you? Like, what are your goals with those priorities?
To Europe.
Yeah.
Booyah. Yeah. On holidays away from this place. No, I'm kidding. Love it here. Yeah, definitely Europe. And with a degree. So that, because I feel like a part of my degree is that I love being in the ocean and like finding out stuff about the ocean. So I feel like by marine biology being my degree, I kind of keep a little bit of my passion alive for my hobby as well. You know what I mean? So even if I'm not doing it right now, that will be my whole life of my career, is looking at the ocean, studying the ocean.
Are you passionate about that?
Yes. Yes.
And you're passionate about your degree?
Yes. I really like my degree. Like, I honestly can't think of anything that I would be better suited to doing. Like, I feel like it genuinely, like, sparks excitement in me when I'm, like, scooping up algae samples out of gross swamps. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see you under the microscope. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good that it's like a great fit for you. And I think that it's just interesting when you kind of say like, going back to like the things that you were feeling like you're not doing great at the moment and like, and why that is. But it's also like, it's not written, right? Like you did the ab workout for 4 days. That doesn't mean like it has to be over as well. Like you don't have to go, oh, I failed at it. Like too bad. Like it's done. Like
Yeah.
you can also, it's better to go, oh, I'm just going to do it today. Like, oh, I feel bad that I didn't do that. So, and I want to keep doing that. so I can just do it today. And it doesn't have to be that I do it every single day. Like, if I missed a day, then that's okay. But it's still better that I do it today than if I don't do it today.
Yeah.
Like, you still have that power too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more helpful to ask the question as to why you failed. And oftentimes you failed because it wasn't really what you wanted to do in the first place.
Mm.
And I think if you set goals more aligned with what you want as an outcome, you're going to be more likely to adhere to the plan and be more quick to get back on the horse when you do fail.
Yeah. Well, I think I just wanted really some strength in my core because surfing, bouldering, running all like stems from your core. And I was like, fuck, I haven't like done anything there in ages. And then I feel like by building up a bit more core muscles, then it would give me like I feel like when I'm running, I try and like tense my core muscles to take the pain off my lower back as well. And I feel like it's good to like engage it and have a strong core so that other parts of your body doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah. That's just what I felt. I just know that if you're holding your core strong, then yeah, your body is like more braced for like impact and like activity.
Yeah, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think core training is grossly overrated, especially when you're core training to be able to do other things. I think if you want, in very specific circumstances, it makes sense to isolate areas that you're weak in to make them stronger. But in most cases, especially when you're just beginning, to get better at something, you just do the thing more.
Yeah.
Like, if you were an expert runner and the thing that was holding you back from progressing was your core, then maybe you would do core exercises. But right now, the thing that's holding you back from being a better runner is just the fact that you don't run enough.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Or you haven't trained enough.
Yeah.
So all you need is more time running rather than more core exercises. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah. But I feel like by doing something for like 10 minutes, I can do it whenever in the day. And maybe like with running, you have like one day and you have to have like a day off. Or like you're supposed to just to like let your body recover. So I feel like I'm needing something on that day off to kind of feel in some time of like...
Why do you need a day off?
For shin splints.
Why don't you just run less each day but run every day?
Because I want to be at the same level that Kira and Dad are at so that I can run with them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're already very strong, so you can run with anyone, you know what I mean? But I feel like I've probably done the least training out of anyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to keep those higher runs, like mileages up, you know?
Yeah.
And I also like get a lot of motivation from running with them. Like, I don't feel like I would be running this much if it wasn't for all of you guys. Yeah. And like, it's so much motivation on the run to keep going because I feel like I would stop a few times. Yeah. If there weren't other people running ahead of me, I'm like, oh shit. I didn't have Santa to put me along.
Yeah. I think like for me, I find it really hard to go, I'm doing this on this day, like ahead of time and get quite like my head. It just feels so hard to be like, okay, every day I'm going to do this one same activity. Like that approach feels kind of like a bit like mentally blocking. But if like I try and say to myself, like, I just got to do something active every day. And then it gives like me a freedom. And I'm like, oh, what do I want to have? What do I want to do today? And also like, what do I have time for? Like it might not be time for a run or it might not be.
Or a surf.
Or a surf. but it might be a 10-minute ab workout, or it might be, I don't know, a 30-minute yoga thing, or like a dip in the ocean, or a walk along the beach. Like, it doesn't have to look the same every day. And maybe like shifting your priority to just like exercising every day, so you're like continually like still moving your body in some way, or helping your body in some way. Like, it could be stretching even one day,
Yeah.
because that helps a lot too.
So I just got an idea. You know how we used to do like power living, like the power yoga, David Manley? How cool would it be if we did a family yoga session, either at a place or just at home in the living room, and mum even could guide it, or one person could guide it, and we all have to sit there and do yoga all together. Or Pilates. You're like, no. Brendan looks wildly unamused.
Why would I want to do that?
Why not?
No, I'm asking you, why would I want to do that?
No, because remember how we were talking about after the run the other day about Magnus, and how he's people making comments about how he's almost as strong as those bodybuilder strongman people, but his muscles are so flexible because he stretches and he does all this stretching stuff. And how good it would be to have flexible muscles and stretch. And then we have some sort of accountability, because I am not very good about doing anything without any accountability.
I think
So
that's
then
a
everyone
misinterpretation of how he got so strong.
No, I think he got really strong over obviously years, but I think bouldering is such like a dynamic movement that like you have to be so flexible to do bouldering, you know?
So would you
like,
not get flexible from bouldering?
Yes, but I also think with all the running that we're all doing as a family, that we should all do some sort of stretch all together as a family.
So,
And then we can see Dad
But
doing
where's
all
the-
these funny moves.
but where's the reason for doing it? You know what I mean?
Brendan's just trying to talk his way out of it.
No, I'm not. I'm asking the question.
What was the question?
Like, if you want to do something and you want to commit to it and you want to be consistent, you have to have a reason for doing it.
Yeah.
And if the reason isn't a good reason, like if I don't have a good reason to do it, I'm just not going to do it.
Well, why wouldn't you want flexible muscles?
Because I have no reason to have flexible muscles.
Yes, you do. You do bouldering.
But it's not something that I'm like, damn, I wish I was more flexible.
Well, I feel like to improve your bouldering, maybe you would want really flexible muscles.
But to improve in bouldering is not a priority for me. I just do it for fun.
But don't you want to be doing your absolute best at everything that you do, putting 100% in?
Yes. For my No, for my priorities. You can't improve at everything 100% at all times.
Why not? That's what a
Because you
loser would
have
say.
limited resources per day.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point.
I think stretching is just a good way to not have injuries as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I
That's
think
why
for running,
Cedar
it's
does
definitely
it
important.
every
And
day. So he taught him bow.
yeah, he does his morning stretch. Yeah, but I think stretching is a helpful aspect, because I know I always feel like way more like warmed up, and like I can have a longer stride when I'm more stretched, and I also get less sore too. And I think it does prevent injuries as well, because you're not like hobbling around, like you're like better, your body's just, I feel like, can get into a better like rhythm and length, like guide. It's like lengthening your stride basically, and not making you sore. Yeah.
Do you know what the best example of that I've ever had is? Do you remember when we used to do pole dancing?
Yeah.
And we would warm up for like 15 minutes of the class. And I remember one time, like, we went into the studio having not, like, done a class, like, just to do it by ourselves. and we didn't do the same warm up for 15 minutes. And we like, well, I sucked. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? And then I was like, oh, we didn't do the warm up, so I don't feel like fluid
Yeah.
and warm. And
Yeah.
I'm this much worse. Like, holy shit.
You can't bend and you can't
Do
even have the
anything.
same amount of strength too.
Yeah.
Like our strength was very different. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be helpful to do some stretching and to incorporate that into our lives a bit more.
Good for you guys.
He's not convinced. That's right.
Well, I feel like this is just stemming from my innate inability to do anything on my own. And I just need,
That's not true though.
isn't it? Like,
You go to work on your own. You study. You've gone to uni on your own. You eat on your own. You go on your iPad alone. You do a lot of things alone. You walk the dog alone.
well, maybe it's my innate inability to do things that aren't structured and set on my own. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's hard for me to go for a surf on my own, even though I really enjoy it, or like a swim in the ocean on my own, even though I really enjoy it. It's just because, like, I'll bring the dog if I want to go for a swim to like foul it or something if no one else is there. I'll go with him. Or like I need something else to almost like motivate me and like have fun with, because I feel like it's a lot funner with other people. Or like even running. I feel like it's so
Why
much
is that
easier.
a problem though?
Because I don't know. I'm just not very good at doing things on my own. I feel like
it's practice though. Like I definitely have felt like that and go through like, I don't know, transitions of doing things on my own and then not really, and then relying more on people. And it's just like habit. Like if you start doing things on your own and you do it and you're like, oh, this is actually great. Like I can just do whatever and no one's relying on me, and like it's actually a lot of freedom there. If you see it from a different perspective and get in a routine of doing something like going for a swim or going for a surf by yourself, and then you're like, oh, this is something that's very achievable and that I can do and that I enjoy. But it's not until you like do it and you show yourself and you prove yourself that you can do it and that it's fun, and like you got to do that a couple times to be like, oh yeah, this is a good thing.
But does this still mean that you're coming to the beach with me later?
Yeah, because I want to come to the beach. So yeah, for sure.
Good. That's all I need to know.
But I had the same thing. Like yesterday, I pretty much didn't take no from Brendan for like, I was like, do you want to come for a surf? And he's like, don't really feel like, I'm like, do you want to come for a surf? It's a really nice board for you. Like I
Did
definitely
you?
did the same thing. He did end up coming, but I definitely noticed it was a little bit of, it was something that I did want to do with him. But there was kind of this sense of like, I don't know, like it's just easier if someone else is coming as well. It feels like more motivation for doing it. And you feel like, yeah. But I think it is like a thing where it comes with practice. Like when I was in Wollongong and I would surf by myself a lot, like last winter, and it was just habit. Once you start doing it, you're like, oh, cool. Like it's fine. It's great.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you keep doing it. But if it drops off, for me, I definitely regress back. It's not like it's a thing that needs constant work.
Yeah.
It's not something that I do a couple of times and I'm like, oh, cool. And then I do it forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested, Brendan, on your take, because I feel like Kira and I grew up with each other and doing like all the sports that we did together almost. And from what you've told me, like growing up in the country, you had like so much time on your own. So like how do you feel about doing things on your own versus doing things with people? Like do you find more motivation from people or by doing stuff with yourself?
It's definitely easier doing stuff with other people because of the accountability. And if people are going, it's a lot easier to go with them.
But did it take you time to adjust to, like, I guess, like, my idea, it was like in the country you would go for walks and like do a lot of like exercise on your own. But then probably when you move to Wollongong, there's a lot more access to different people and a lot more people, like being in a share house, you had like lots of people that were probably like, can you do this with me? Can you do this with me? Like, I don't even know if there was a question in there, but
I mean, the lifestyle in the country is very different to here.
yeah.
Like, the country life is a lot more natural than it is here. Like, exercise is embedded into your life. You don't really go for a walk like you do in the city because you have a job that requires you, that is exercise. Like, farm work is very hard
Yeah.
physically, and you're working with people, so like everything's kind of baked into one thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're outside of that, when you're not working, you're pretty much just by yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would you ever consider being a farmer?
As a job,
Yeah.
would I consider it? No. I mean, I've done it, and I see the value in having a farm,
Yeah.
and I think I would do a good job, but I would rather do other things.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking about, like, this seems really stupid, but the other week I was like, I really want some land by the beach, like down south. And I was talking to Dad about, oh, like, it's going to be so hard to find a job where you can do, like, remotely online, being a marine biologist. And I was thinking about, like, the different career paths that I could go down. And it's like, what job do people have on big lots of property? And I was like, farmer. Like, what else, bro? Like, are you stupid? And then I was like, oh my God, but being a farmer is so much work. Like, that's probably why my brain didn't think about it. Because I was like, you're not doing that. It's too hectic. Especially coming from not having a farmer background.
I think people look at that stuff with rose-tinted glasses because, like, farming is probably one of the hardest jobs there is to do. Like, the suicide rate of farmers is very high.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the outcome is dependent on the weather. And you have no control over that. You can plant the seed, you can put fertilizer on it, and you just pray.
Yeah.
And many farmers go decades without a good harvest. And they feed their families that way. So, like, you can work really hard, but at the end of the day, like, you just have to pray the water falls from the sky.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like your effort doesn't always reflect the outcome. Yeah, which I guess, like, in my degree, like, it's very much like we learn about a lot of, like, agriculture and, like, the Murray-Darling Basin and all of that, which is, like, where, I guess, around where you grew up, and looking at, like, the weather patterns and what happens. And even when it does rain, usually that means a flood event. And if you have cattle, it's like you don't want no rain, but you don't want rain. It's like there's no win-win there at all. And, like, I guess with less and less predictability on weather, it's just getting more and more fucked out there.
Mm.
I also feel like a lot of the farms are getting sold off to, like, outside Australian people that are managing it, and no one wants to work for those outside organisations and stuff.
I don't know if we want to go in this direction, but the main reason for that would be because, well, the demand isn't there because people aren't eating real food.
Yeah.
And then also, like, the corporate supermarkets can pretty much just pay you whatever they want, whether it's what you can live on or not. So you hope and pray that you get a good harvest, and then you hope and pray you're going to get a good price from the supermarkets. And, like, you can have 99% of things go right for you, but it can still be pulled out from under you at the end.
Yeah.
And really, like, the only way that we can keep farming in Australia and keep people wanting to be farmers is if we buy the produce from the farmers.
Yeah. I've actually seen an ad for something like that on Instagram. Like buying the produce from the people. But I also don't know how that would work, because I feel like a lot of the times we're relying on these big companies to like lower the prices, and people are so used to paying like next to nothing. Well, it's next to nothing for the amount of work that's gone into it. But then again, like the prices of it are all like too high in a way and too low in a way. Like it's too high for the average family at the moment. Like the cost of living has just skyrocketed. But then it's dirt cheap to the amount that the farmers get. It's just like those companies that are doing that are making it cheaper for you by mass producing like the truck drivers and all of that process.
I don't know how much cheaper it really is though at Woolies and Coles, because like think about down at the markets. I think the Woolies and Coles are taking most of the profit, and you're not actually, like, the farmers aren't getting it, right? And it's going into that business instead of the farmers' pockets. Like that's kind of what you're buying.
Yeah.
Rather than like down at the markets, it's the same or even less for like organic produce.
Yeah.
And that money is actually going back to the farmers.
But I guess I'm more thinking about like for the people that don't buy organic produce. Like when you go into like a corner store or like even an IGA, normally the prices are more expensive because they can't get things in bulk, in bigger bulk.
Do you understand why that is though?
Because everyone goes to Woolies and Coles.
There's no demand. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people went and shopped at the markets, if the demand is there, the supply will meet the demand.
Right.
Like that's what business is for. So like if you stopped shopping at Woolies and Coles and your dollars went somewhere else, that's where all the produce is going to go as well. Like the orders have to be fulfilled in some way.
Yeah. And then farmers will plant as well what needs to be planted, because a lot of the times they work on like annual crops. So they will just plant what's in demand and what they get the most money for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything comes back to consumer behavior.
Yeah.
And where you spend your money.
Yeah. And Brendan and I were talking about this and talking about how like even when we lived like right next to Aldi, we'd drive past Aldi to Woolies to buy our food. And then I was thinking like why, like he brought it up, like why did we do that? Like why did we automatically go to Woolworths? And really it was only for like a couple of specific items that I was like, oh, I want to get that. But then that dictated every shop, which even when that didn't apply, you know, because it's so ingrained in your head. You're like, oh, I just go here. You just do it. It's convenient. But like you can do that same thing. You can go, okay, I'm just going to start going here, and then that will become an automatic response, and you just do that weekly, you know, like the hardest thing is stopping and changing, but once you're on route and continually doing that habitual process, like it just becomes as easy.
Yeah, and I guess that's like the human experience. Inconsistencies, anomalies, and paradoxes in the human experience. 2021 graduates, where you at? That was our English HSC topic for year 11 and 12. The inconsistencies, anomalies, and paradoxes in the human experience. And what it means to be human. Yeah. So I guess that is like being a human is like setting up those things that just stay consistent and that you just like is habit to you.
Yeah. But we aren't taught any of these things really. And so we just kind of do what everyone else does because it's convenient.
Yeah.
And we don't understand like what the ripple effect of that is and what it means for the whole system
Yeah.
and the things down the line. Like, we don't think about the farmers when we go to the supermarket. We think about, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's normal. But I think we also need to understand how the system works so we can then make the best decisions for ourselves moving forward.
And I also feel like with Australia, like we have 25 million people, I think still.
Million, not billion.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Billion.
No, we have 25 million people.
I think
10
27.
Yeah, okay, 27.
28.
Okay, fuck.
28.
10 roughly live in Sydney, 10 roughly live in Melbourne. And then most of the others live in major cities, right? We have like 80% of our population around the coast. So then when you think about it, like most of those people are living in like these tight packed cities. Like although we have a nice house, this amount of space isn't what people are cave people and like, you know, like what we originally were like made for, living in these tight quarters. And I feel like so many people are like, are you okay there, bud? Fucking hell. Sorry. He looked so sad. Okay, so just gonna will it pick it up? And then, yeah.
I will.
Okay, he stopped. Yeah, so I feel like we just like weren't biologically made. Fuck. Okay, we weren't like biologically made to live like this. So then I feel like a lot of our humanity is like stripped away from us, and we're building habits and ideas and our humanity around like unnatural things. And a lot of people that live in like major cities, like I feel like Australia's not that bad because we actually are quite sprawled out compared to other major cities. But think about people in Tokyo, like they probably, if they've been raised there, they have no idea what the country is and what it's like to be a farmer. Like so many people will never get that opportunity and experience to like understand the world at large.
How is that different to us?
Well, I feel like we're more privileged than most people that live in major cities.
We live in a major city.
Yeah, but like we are more privileged. We live in like one of the number one like most expensive neighborhoods in the world.
Isn't privilege ignorance?
In a way, but it can grant you opportunities of seeing life outside your own situation.
Yeah, but you would only see them to avoid them.
Well, I feel like for me,
like you said before, I'm not going to be a farmer because I saw it as hard work.
Yeah.
But you really don't know what it's like either.
No. But I guess from seeing that, I understand that I don't want that. You know what I mean? Or like living in like visiting other countries, like visiting parts of Southeast Asia, like I can appreciate that other people's lives are way tougher than my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to see more of the world than I guess like the average person probably would because of my privilege.
Mm-hmm.
That, and also like education is privilege. Like some people don't get to go to school because they have to work for a living, you know, by the age of like 10 or whatever, and they're pulled out to make money for their family. So having that education, I feel like, is also a privilege of me being able to know more stuff.
I would say it's the opposite. I think the more privileged you are, the less exposed you are to the way the world actually works. Because if you grew up in a low socioeconomic background and you had to fight for everything you own, that's how the world works. Like, the only reason we're born and have these things is because we're in a privileged area.
Yeah. Like, I understand that in one way, but I also think like the average person who's impoverished doesn't know what climate change is because they don't have energy and time to learn things outside their own struggles as much as people who are privileged and know that they're going to have like a meal on the table and are able to learn about external things. You know what I mean?
But what is a more real problem?
I feel like they're all real, but although I'm not able to experience per se what growing up having a struggle each day, not having a meal on the table was really like, I am able to still see that and see other things about how the world works.
Do you understand what I mean?
I do, yeah. I understand that I won't ever be able to understand that aspect of how the world works, but I think in different ways you're able to see how the world works. Space, time, ecosystem, habitat balance,
Yeah, I
trophic
think
levels.
you're not going to have first-hand experience of what it's like to be an average human in some ways, but that also means that you get different experiences and different teachings and learnings. Then you kind of also think about like the Greek philosophers were able to do philosophy because they came from families of wealth.
Yeah.
And that type of thought and thinking only came from people being able to have the time to think about thinking.
Yeah.
Like that is actually a privileged thing to sit and study the mind because like they had slaves to go and give them their income and go and work the fields and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So in that way, like we definitely are privileged in our education and in like deciding what we want to learn and what we want to put our mind to, and we have more time in that way too. So I think, yeah, it's just different.
Yeah. And although I think we are very privileged, I also think we're not at that extreme level of wealthy and rich, like that you're so out of touch and so sheltered from money struggles and that kind of aspect. You know what I mean? Like we weren't completely sheltered from that growing up, like parents struggling with money and that kind of stuff.
It's tough because like the point of human experience is not to experience, like have the same experience as anyone else. So it's kind of difficult to like even validate the importance of understanding other people's struggles. But I feel like there's something to be said about like having to experience the lowest points of being a human. And I think that just looks different for other people. Like getting cancer or not be able to feed your kids or, you know, any other multitude of things that is the bottom of your life. Like I think if you go without that, and I think we're assuming people with privilege are going without those bottom moments, which is not true.
I think something that I would say all humans experience, which is a bottom of bottom, is the stages of grief and like grief, because we all lose people. Like that's part of human nature, and we're all going to lose people that are really close to us and that mean a lot to us. And yeah, I think that gravely affects us as well, especially if it's in a way that seems like very unfair or yeah, like you've lost someone at a very young age. Then that's another aspect as well. Like, yeah, we all just have different bottom points, as you were saying, and different points of suffering, but that is also part of being human. Like,
Yeah.
we have good days and bad days, and something that's hard for one person, like their hardness or like most difficult day might look very different to the other to another person's, but they both feel that. They both feel that same level of sadness.
Yeah. Well, I feel like no amount of money can bring back anyone. And a lot of people, I assume, with a lot of wealth, they get to a point where the people around them probably mean the most. I don't know. Well, that's where I think I would get to, of like, if you have so much money, money doesn't really matter. It's maybe the people around you. And you can't bring them back if they pass away.
Yeah, but you can't really in any way compare experiences.
Yeah.
And
Everyone goes through fucked up shit.
Yeah. And like it's very different from like a very like entitled child being like, I didn't get my favorite toy for Christmas, and that's like their most difficult moment of their life. Whereas someone else hasn't, like some other kid hasn't eaten for 4 days.
Yeah.
Like, and that's their saddest point. So yeah, you can't compare that.
Yeah.
Moments of low. And everyone experiences things differently, and in their head is processing their experiences as different as well. Like someone might be able to handle something a lot better than another, but then when it comes to another part of their life, they find it really challenging and hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like out of all of this, I feel like it's just best to go about your life and about your day as thinking everyone could be going through something right now, and you just want to be like a happy, positive person and try to be kind and understanding.
Yeah, I think that if you are just trying to meet all people with kindness
And a level of like humanity and understanding.
Totally, then it's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I should put my tune account in the bin.
And that I'm a great person because I tipped out coffee grinds. So.
And Brandon should stop doom scrolling.
And start stretching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone want to say anything else?
no.
Speak. Or forever
Show me
hold
what
your
you
peace.
got.
Say anything.
Anything.
Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've
Thank
enjoyed
you. Or not.
our little chat, or not. That's okay too. Thanks, Bells, for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it. Appreciate the chats, getting deep, talking about some cool stuff.
Or talking about me being ignorant to everything. And a piece of shit.
No. Talking about life.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Adios. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Arrivederci.